Hi, and welcome back to the Aimtec Academy, the best place to learn about Aimtec power supplies as well as the industry as a whole. Today's course is actually a very exciting one because Aimtec is launching a completely new lineup of products, and those are AC-DC adapters. Although there are a lot of similarities between AC-DC adapters and AC-DC power converters, there are also some differences that are very important for you guys to know about. So this course is going to be about presenting this new product line as well as explaining the differences between an onboard AC-DC converter and an external AC-DC power adapter. Without further ado, let's hop into the course. Hi, and welcome to Aimtec's training on external adapters. We're very excited to be starting this training because this is a whole new product line for Aimtec. So to begin, we're going to go over the differences between an adapter and an AC-DC converter since we're selling AC-DC adapters. So the benefits to having an adapter is that there are typically no additional certifications required. So Aimtec has its own adapters certified, and when we sell it to you, you don't need to get any additional certification, which means that you can make it to market much quicker than an enclosed AC-DC converter. There's also no design phase required since it's an external power source. You don't need to design your product with an internal power supply in mind, and typically, no additional EMC testing of the adapter is done for end product certification. And unlike power converters, external adapters can really be sold to anybody because anybody can require an external AC adapter. Obviously, selling them in high volumes is where the money can be made. But on the flip side, when we look at internal AC-DC converters, as we mentioned before, yes, the certification time is longer, but they are still quicker to get to market than discrete. But since engineers must integrate the converters into the product and make sure that they pass EMC testing, this is a more lengthy process than just using an external adapter. So overall, the key takeaway here is that designing a product with an external adapter can make it so that your end product reaches the market faster than using an internal power supply. Now, we're going to go over a couple prerequisites in order to be able to sell adapters. So the first prerequisite is safety. We have UL for North America, CE for Europe, and EAC for Russia. These are required in order to be able to sell adapters in these various regions. The next requirement is EMC. So FCC, or Federal Communications Commission, is the requirement for the United States, and CISPR 32 is the requirement for the EU. In order to sell in these markets, the EMC requirements must be met. And finally, we have the efficiency, and the whole purpose of having a prerequisite that looks at efficiency is to make sure that our adapters aren't wasteful when it comes to power management. And with the DOE 6, they actually test efficiency from a 25 to 90% load. So instead of looking at the efficiency under high loads, this DOE 6 requirement checks it from 25 to 90. It's a much more complete test. So now moving on to Aimtec's actual adapters. Well, we are going to be initially launching in the three markets that we mentioned earlier. So North America, Europe, and Russia. These adapters will already be certified, so they are going to be able to be sold in these regions as of the launch date. So this is very exciting because you guys won't have to wait a second in order to start selling these adapters. And Aimtec is going to have two different categories of adapters. So at the bottom left, we have a wall mount adapter. The plug is directly going into the wall and is connected directly to the adapter. And then from the adapter, there's a cable that goes into the device. A desktop adapter, on the other end, has the adapter in the middle in between two cables, one of the cables going to the product, and the other cable, which isn't showed here but is showed on the next slide, is going from the adapter to the wall. So this is what most laptops actually have in terms of adapters. And then finally, we have a wall mount adapter with interchangeable plugs. Because since adapters require different plug types depending on the region, having an interchangeable plug will enable you to sell the same adapter but in multiple regions. Now, just as Aimtec offers for power converters, we can also customize adapters depending on the requirements of the customer. But we will need to qualify the opportunity first before we can give you pricing information and lead time. The next thing is when we're talking about the output cable, so the cable that goes from the adapter to the device, we actually offer various cable lengths. The default length is 1.5 meters, but 1.2 and 1.8 meters are also available upon request. And finally, when it comes to desktop adapters, so the picture in the bottom right-hand corner, they don't come with wall plugs directly. They can be purchased from Aimtec, or you can find a third party to supply them for you, and that's not a problem. Wall plugs are shown in the bottom left-hand image. Now moving on to the nomenclature for a wall mount adapter. All of Aimtec's adapters are going to start with the code AMA. The number 5 represents the power, or the wattage. Then the next digit represents the region code. So U is for US and Japan, C for China, A for Australia, B for the UK, and E for the European Union. The next 2 digits are actually the plug type, which we'll go over on a future slide. And right before the dash, we have the slot for a right angle plug, which I'll also be showing you later. If there is no digit at that location, it means it is a straight plug. If there's an L, it means that there is an angled plug. The next 3 digits after the dash represent output voltage, and after that, output current, and then the reserve code. And here's Aimtec's offering when it comes to wall mount adapters. So we go from 5 watts all the way up to 65, with an input voltage range of 90 to 264, and isolation of 3000 VAC, which is usually way above the customer requirements. So Aimtec adapters are going to be very versatile when it comes to various applications. And then on the right, you have the different certifications that our adapters are going to be coming with. So in most cases, we're going to be looking at EAC, CE, EMC, and FCC. Now here's the nomenclature for the desktop adapters. Very similar to the wall mount, just that after the power of 24 in this case, we added a D, which signifies desktop type. All the other digits are the same, and then when we were talking about the plug type, so right after the D we have 2 digits, right below we have a table that actually explains the various plug types. So from R1 to R5, those are pretty standard plug types, and the only difference are the OD and ID, or outer diameter and inner diameter, of those output plugs. The locking type K1 and K2 are for customers that require the adapter to be able to lock the product in place. So if you're, for example, displaying a laptop and you don't want anyone to steal the laptop, we can offer a locking type adapter. And then U1 and U2 are for micro USB and USB type C. And the various desktop models that Aimtec offers goes from 24 to 120 watts, again offering 3000 VAC of isolation. And here are the various output cable types. So we have a locking in the upper left, USB-C in the upper right, micro USB in the bottom right, and a right angle plug. So if the part number contains an L, this is what the right angle plug will look like. And moving on to the different plug types per reason, this is just to illustrate what the various plug types can look like. In North America, we have the 2-prong or 3-prong plug. In EU, the same thing. And then in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and India, they also have different plug types. For now, we are certified for North America, the EU, and Russia. And if ever there are opportunities in other markets, then we will obviously review the certification requirements. Now we're going to be moving on to a few block diagrams just to illustrate how the adapters are going to work within a block diagram where you can have internal power supplies. So in this case, an automated human-machine interface could simply be a touchscreen, will be powered with an external adapter. So you can look at the AME24 up to the AME40, and this is going to convert the 90 to 264 VAC to 12 VDC output. And then our AM6C will then convert the 12 volts supplied from the adapter to 5 volts and then power the LDO, the MCU, and the WLAN chips. And the 12 volts coming out of the adapter can power the touchscreen and the display unit without being converted additionally by an internal power supply. So in this case, you will still need to get the design approved and certified because of the internal power supply. But it is a much more simple process to use an external power source as opposed to having an internal onboard AC-DC converter. But in the next example, where we're looking at a point of sale printer or a POS printer, there is no internal power supply. You're directly getting your power from the external adapter. So this will save you additional certification time because there are no onboard power supplies. The power is coming purely from the external AC-DC adapter. So here we're going to be using wall mount adapters, either the AMA12, AMA18X, which is our 18-watt interchangeable wall mount adapter, or the AMA24. So 12 watts, 18 watts, or 24 watts of power. And then it'll be powering the various internal components of the printer directly. Finally, we're going to be looking at an intelligent weighing equipment. Again, here you have internal power supplies as well as external power supplies, but we're showing you that instead of using an AME 15-277 VZ internal AC-DC converter, you can directly skip that step and use an external adapter, either the AMA 18 or AMA 24, to power the internals of this intelligent weighing equipment. So, as in the previous example, the adapter can power the touchscreen directly and a few other modules at the same time as powering Aimtec's internal DC-DC converters, which will then send the power to various internal components. Well guys, thanks for joining us on this very exciting journey for not only Aimtec, but as well for you. Because not only is this product class a whole new product for Aimtec, we believe that this will give you the opportunity to reach more markets and to actually become partners with a larger quantity of customers. Because not only now are you selling Aimtec power converters, we are now transitioning into a whole new territory of external AC-DC power adapters that will have the same reputation as Aimtec internal onboard converters. We see a great opportunity and are very happy that you are joining us on this journey. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you learned something, and we will see you in the next course.